I was out on trail once and it was in the snow and it was cold and all the things, right? And I got stuck. My front was locked, my rear was locked, and all four tires were just slowly spinning because I was in the snow and it was slick. And I had done a bonehead maneuver. I pulled my winch line off of my spool. It popped off, it flew over my shoulder, and I was like, okay, this is not going well. And then I heard this horn honk. And I looked behind my truck, and out there in the middle of no place is a bright red Jeep. He's like, Overland Bound member 12486, you need any help? And I was like, yes! Yes, I do. Just don't tell anybody your Jeep's pulling out a Toyota Land Cruiser.
Well, you guys obviously know Overland Expo West, and then you probably know and have heard about Overland Bound. And Mike.
Hey, you guys. Yeah. That's awesome to be here again. Yeah, in 2021.
Yeah, you guys have been here a time or two before, a couple years.
A time or two. Yeah, glad to be back here.
Yeah, and great to finally meet you officially.
Very nice to meet you.
Mike, yes, I've been following for a long time. I'm OB4418.
Right.
Also following
right on. Yes. Yeah.
Got in a little early.
So old school.
Yeah, got in a little early, and but no, I've actually experienced. I want to talk to these guys about what Overland Bound's about.
Sure.
But I recently experienced it. We were broke down in my friend's truck camper for 4 days, and we got a message, someone on the Overland Bound Instagram page, like, hey, do you want us to share? And I was like, that's what it's all about, the community and bringing it together. So how did this all get started, I guess? Yeah,
I'll tell you. So the community is what it's all about. And back in 2010, so I grew up in the woods, I grew up doing stuff, I grew up outdoors, and so for me it was very natural. But then professional career, kind of intervened, and I didn't go outdoors for a long time. A series of really crummy events happened in my life, and I know you guys have faced stuff like this as well. And I almost involuntarily turned back to nature. I was like, I got to get out. And so I bought this rig and I went out and I did it. And I was like, oh my goodness, I need to be doing this, getting outside. And then when I got back, I wanted to share that experience with friends and more people. So I started a blog, and that kind of grew. It's like that old thing. Started a blog. There wasn't really community resources to provide people with the knowledge they needed to go a little bit beyond the beaten path. So I started a forum that turned into a community. The community just exploded. It blew my mind, grew super fast. And now the community Overland Bound members they support each other. Mm-hmm. So we got, now 30,000 and growing. So when you're out there on the trail, you need some help, you need some assistance, whatever it may be. It's nice to have that community support and those resources. You need to know some things, and so that's kind of what it's all about.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, that's so cool to hear your story. I've heard it before, but to hear it in person, because I was a financial advisor.
I gave the paraphrase version, right? That's the short take, folks. Yeah.
Well, I was a financial advisor for a while, and I would find myself talking to folks about retirement and really changing what my life was about to try to reach this level of success. And I'd go out on the weekends, and it was this feeling the longer I'd go out, the better I felt. Well, and I wanted to share that, like you.
No, totally. And the thing is, if you guys haven't experienced it, and a lot of folks that are watching probably have, but if you haven't, getting away for a few days, away from call it the rat race or the grind or whatever. We do the rinse and repeat thing every day, and you're kind of used to a pattern. Break away from that, get away for a few days, and you'll gain perspective and start looking at things different. And we all need to do that, because about day 2 or 3, depending on how stressed out you are, you'll start going, wait a minute, what am I doing? I need to do this differently or that differently. So you come back and you have that perspective to make decisions that'll actually improve your life, and all kinds of community benefits. I don't want to turn this into a 2-hour documentary or anything like that, but there are all kinds of benefits. Like, you go outside and you deal with things that are real. right? So maybe you're snippy online, or maybe like in your day-to-day, you're not such a community member or whatever, because we don't get that opportunity. But when you're out on the trail and you're doing real stuff, and you need water, or you got a broke axle, that's real stuff. And all of a sudden, the best in humanity comes right out, and you're reminded what we're all about. It's like, no, people like to help one another.
Yeah.
And so just that experience, it's like, it's kind of what it's all about, like you were saying,
It's a beautiful thing to hear you explain it that way.
Yeah.
There's all different types of people. Some people say, "Oh, I'm a homebody," or I'm not a people person, all that. But when you get outside, especially when you need help, or vice versa, you see someone who needs help, the human comes out, the humanity, and
right.
and bringing that community together. I've broke down, my rig's been broken, and that's the coolest part. It's not the great trips and the beautiful spots. It's actually those that come first in my mind in a conversation like this.
Yeah. I was out on trail once, and it was in the snow, and it was cold, and all the things, right? And I got stuck. My front was locked, my rear was locked, and all 4 tires were just slowly spinning because I was in the snow, and it was slick. And I had done a bonehead maneuver. I pulled my winch line off of my spool. It popped off, it flew over my shoulder, and I was like, okay, this is not going well. And then I heard this horn honk. And I looked behind my truck, and out there in the middle of no place is a bright red Jeep. He's like, Overland Bound member 12486, you need any help? And I was like, yes! Yes, I do. Just don't tell anybody your Jeep's pulling out a Toyota Land Cruiser.
All right.
But yeah, no, anyway, so that is kind of what it's about.
Yeah, I just had a similar experience going into town in Crested Butte to get a tool, and we made the wrong turn, but I ran into a fan, and he was like, oh, you need a tool? I got a tool. Actually, I do 4x4 recovery. And it's amazing how things come together when you're just in the thick of the adventure.
Yep.
So,
absolutely. So, hey, we grew quickly. It scaled beyond Corey and I's ability to support the community. So we started dedicating ourselves to building tools for the community. So we've got an app called Overland Bound 1, iOS and Android. We're building out off-grid, offline features, and the whole idea is, in keeping with our community roots. You can go out there and you can find map apps, or you can find event apps. We kind of tie that all together. So it's the community plus the off-road navigation stuff together. So if you're using it to navigate and you need help, you can also tap into the community. So, we've got that out there. We just had a new release yesterday. So it's free, y'all. Overland Bound 1, iOS and Android. Okay, that's all I'll say.
I like it. That's a good natural plug. But no, that's what I love about Overland Bound. I feel like you guys you really want to connect the high level. Yep. People have tons to share. They've learned a ton with the people who are just starting out and everywhere in between.
That was one of the big reasons that we started, is everybody started somewhere. So, if you're out there, if you don't know anything, it's got to be okay in our community. It's like, well, hey, that's why you have a support network. And I'd even tell people that are like considering getting a rig, it's like, go to a meetup. There's no commitment, just go to a meetup or whatever, and
Someone's having way too much fun over there.
Woohoo! Go to a meetup and kick some tires and get some ideas, talk to some members.
Yeah, it's really cool because I came from the rock crawling community, and I love the challenge of a gnarly obstacle and all that. But there's a lot of stigma that, you need bigger tires and this and that. And that's what I think is so neat about overlanding. The vehicles, there's no perfect one, and there's no perfect spots or trails.
It doesn't matter what you drive.
That's their thing.
It does matter where you drive it. So you got it. So you have to have a rig that's capable of doing what you're asking it to do. But just a bone stock Toyota Tacoma, any bone stock 4-wheel drive is tremendously capable. You can go and see some of the greatest spots out there. So.
Yeah, and you could have been through many different rigs, I'm sure, but this is your trusty steed, the Land Cruiser.
That's it. Yeah, I had this since 2010. And it's just been a great vehicle. I mean, for the first few years, it just went and went and went and went. And then about 2018, it said, okay, hold up. We need to take care of some maintenance. So we've been, building it out and doing some things with it and giving back a little bit. But New motor, new things.
Yeah, it's cool to see because it's easy to, and I've even got into myself with the new vehicle build being, the ultimate, the best one. And now I'm like, man, I want to keep this thing the same for a while and use it and put miles on it. And
yeah, absolutely. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. So my good friend Social Pants has a brand new Raptor. And that's the way that he went. He did a bunch of research and he's like, you know what? I want to build something good from the get-go. I built this over time, right? Since 2010, just kind of slowly iterating. He just did a bunch of research. He's like, that's my build, man. And that's a perfect way to go. You know, if you know the kind of overlanding you're going to do and you can build out a rig to fit it, that's cool too. And I think that's kind of the point is, we all come from different perspectives, different desires. You want to go and do different kinds of things, bomb through the desert or rock crawl. That's going to be a different vehicle. You know, in my case, it's the same vehicle, but
it does it all.
But you know, you just consider those things when you're building out your rig for sure. Yeah.
Well, and there's definitely no perfect vehicle. There's not even the right vehicle. Sometimes you find the right vehicle being in the wrong spots, which can be fun.
Yeah.
But but yeah, for people, starting out, I guess, and this is just a random question off the top of my head, but what vehicle to pick is a big thing. Do I do a van, a truck, and a camper, an SUV? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, so the basic question, of course, is what do you think you're going to do with it? And maybe it is where do I live and what kind of terrain do I have around me? And so, if you know you're going to be doing state campgrounds and you're not going to be going off the beaten path, then a van is really nice. If you're going to be in a live-work situation where you're traveling and you're working, which more and more people are doing, you probably want to consider having a little bit more space. Maybe one of the built-out vans, or just something with a little bit more space. If you're going to be rock crawling, you start going towards those kind of platforms, gladiators, and things of that nature. There's just a wide range of vehicles to choose from. So consider those things. What am I going to do? How long am I going to be on the road? And start looking at builds that really fit that build. For example, I'll mention Social Pants again. His Raptor is different than mine. I'm more slow trail. He's bombing through the desert. They're built differently. So that's the deal. You have to consider what you're going to do. There's no right answer to it. Just figure out what you're gonna build. Find a rig, somebody that has built something. You look at that thing and you're like, that's an awesome rig. That's really cool. Find some inspiration and start building. You don't have to do it all at once either. Just start slow.
Yeah, I think that is the most important part. Is where do you want to go, and who do you want to see, and that was a big thing for me. Was I started with where I wanted to go, and I kind of sacrificed for comfort for a bigger vehicle, and now I'm like, well, I want to try to go everywhere, but it's an evolution for sure.
And you want to build for what might happen. Yeah. So that's the other thing that I should point out is, you have what you will probably be doing, and then you want to build for what you might run into. So if you're going to be on Forest Service roads, a lot of the Forest Service roads, you get out there quite a ways, and they turn into a hard trail. So you want to build for what you might encounter, and that's why you see rigs with bull bars. And heck, I got a spare gas can on the back of this rig. I've used it maybe 4 times in the last 5 years, but when I needed it. So you got to build for what you might encounter. Yeah.
That's a perfect thing for my build. Is I have 40-inch tires. I don't need them to get to 95% of the camp spots, but those 5% of the time, we're going to be having a good time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, the other thing is, like, you might go on a loop trail, and you're like, okay, I have enough gas to go around the loop trail. You go in, 3/4 of the way, you can't make it back, and then there's a hard obstacle. You got to be able to navigate that obstacle, or you're out there. So.
Definitely. Well, yeah, fun chatting with you. These guys, I think, are getting a good feel of the expo. How would you say this would compare to like an Overland Bound meetup where you're actually out camping? And
well, so we do different kinds of things, right? And again, through our software, you can create an event, and that can be a meetup. And meetups are like rigs and coffee, and we've got meetups that have 150 rigs that show up, right? So it'll be rigs and coffee where you kick the tires and you go around and see some builds, or it'll be a trip. And you put in all the parameters of the trip. Hey, we're going this far. We're going to go from point A to point B. We want to have about 15 people. those are always really great because you make lifelong friends with events like that. And then we have training events, and so you're going on an event to specifically learn how to repair a sidewall puncture in your tire, right? I know y'all are saying don't repair a sidewall puncture, but if you're out in the middle of the desert, repair it and get back, right?
Yeah.
You know, so how to do things like that. And then the last type, which, you know, last year was popular and thankfully is a little bit less popular, is online meetup, where you can create an online meetup and just meet online and pick a topic and discuss things. So lots of different types of events.
Yeah, and that might be a good way to get to know a group before you go and do a real meetup and all that. That's cool that you have those options. And the community you've created is amazing.
Well, thank you.
I mean, we've been hanging out all of a few minutes before we started chatting, and there's a few people coming up just, you know, thanking you, and it's... Yeah, it's exactly what this needs.
Yeah, we'll keep doing it. We'll keep doing it. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thanks, Mike, for showing us everything. And we'll, looks like, I don't know where we're going next, but there's all sorts of good stuff to explore.
Well, maybe we'll see you out there on the trail someday.
All right, we'll see you then.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, see you, man.